right, got it. All right, I think we're recording.
Yep.
Okay. So first of all, I guess, Will, if you wouldn't mind just doing a roll call, establish who's here formally.
Certainly, Madam Chair. And actually, I could just note that I see you and Ms.
Yeah.
Evans. A quorum is not here. If you don't mind us being a little informal about that.
Nope, that's totally fine. That works for me.
All right.
And I think without a quorum, can we adopt the meeting minutes, or do we need to wait until next time?
You would need to wait until next
Okay.
time, Madam Chair.
All right,
Take an official action.
Perfect. Then we're gonna skip that one. Just knocking it out right now. So then the next thing, just kind of, since it is just Gina and I for today, I know Gina, you and I briefly touched base. Let's start looking at a work plan for our group so that going forward, I think that'll also help you, Will, with agenda items and topics and things like that. And I know, sorry, I had pulled up, that's where I'm trying to, so it does look like our next meeting is April 18th. I probably should at least note right now, I am scheduled to be in a jury trial that week. So I don't know, Gina, if we have an agenda, if you are going to be there, that can work. I just want to at least get that out there right now. So let's see here. So I think probably, I wonder if easiest way to do this would be to kind of look ahead. We originally had done kind of the three main buckets of permanency, the POE, and I think was it the timelines? I had tried to print some of those minutes and now those notes.
Madam Chair, as I recall, it was timelines and other miscellaneous process issues.
Yes. Yeah, and I kind of feel like that one is going to be a lot once we actually start digging into it. So I kind of actually think we want to see if we can knock out the other ones potentially first on our agendas. And Will, if I remember correctly, did Max Page, because we were wanting to bring in Max to really kind of provide some kind of from the prosecutor's standpoint, because I think in our group, we just have more from the defense side. And so I think it's good to have both perspectives. Mm-hmm. And I thought
he gave us some dates. Yep.
Yeah, the next 3 meetings. So I think he was really more interested in the permanency issues, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if it would just sort of make sense. He couldn't come today, so then he was potentially available to come. I'm looking at my calendar here, April 18th. And then
May 2nd, Madam Chair.
May 2nd. Okay. So just to kind of be respectful of him coming, I guess I kind of think the permanency, Gina, what are your thoughts? Do you think 2 meetings on permanency is enough? I'm worried 1 would not be enough.
No, for sure 2. For sure 2. And then, so how many meetings do we, it's the 1st and the 3rd, right? Or we're just doing 2 a month. It's not every other, right?
We were doing every other, I think. I thought.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Ms. Evans, at the moment, we have meetings scheduled out for every 2 weeks.
Okay. Perfect.
Until May 2nd, but my plan was, unless I was told otherwise, just keep scheduling out meetings for
every 2 weeks
after
okay,
that.
Perfect. So that gives us a couple extra meetings that, because like April has 5. Oh no, 4. May has 5.
Yeah, but May that 30th is Memorial Day.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. That's a good point.
So that would not be a
so then we would just skip that one and start over on the 6th, which gets us right back on track for this. So we do the 6th and the 20th. So let's do that. Let's make that note, Will.
Will do.
Yeah.
Assuming that's
that'll-
okay with you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, so that'll be meetings. So we've got 4/18. I'm a visual person. I'm writing them down.
Yep. May 2nd, 16th, and then we'll skip the 30th because it's a holiday.
Yeah,
June 6th, June 20th. And then
That's the
July
4th.
4th is a holiday.
yeah. So I think we'd skip that one. What if we then did the 11th and the
Okay.
25th?
July 11th, July 25th.
I'm worried if we try to stack any 2 weeks in a row, that just gets to be a lot for people.
Yep,
Makes
I
sense.
agree.
7/11, 7/25. And then I'm just,
August 8th.
August 8th
So
and
the-
22nd.
yeah, and actually that works out pretty well. We're not, I think the week after that,
And then at that
then-
point, we're done. At
Yeah.
that point, we're done. That's how many meetings we have right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 3 per bucket.
yeah. Which I'm wondering, actually, I kind of feel like and this is maybe just maybe I'm being a little hopeful or optimistic, but I kind of wonder if the permanency, if we can knock it out in 2, and same thing with the POE. And then maybe even leave, like if we kind of scheduled the POE or the permanency, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my sheet and saying the wrong one. The permanency for 4/18 and 5/2 and 5/16, but also have the POE on 5/16 so that if we're done with permanency, we can just, I don't want to waste a meeting. I would like to be
Yeah.
ready to just transition right into,
So permanency / POE.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And then June 6th, POE,
Mhm.
June 20th, POE.
mhm.
And then that would leave July 11th, 25th, and August 8th and 22nd for
And 'cause
miscellaneous
I
process.
I do think that third bucket, there's a lot, and I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
miscellaneous pieces
Mhm.
that I'd like to, I just think that one's gonna have a lot to look at.
I think we need to leave one though for us to like get even one, maybe 2 to get our recommendations together, right? So
Yeah. And just so I'm clear, is it, because I know at least my calendar showed, so we're supposed to be done with our work by the beginning of September, and then it's writing. Is that how it works? I'm just not sure.
Madam Chair, that's certainly the timeline I've been suggesting, but I will say it's not like a hard deadline. If the group wanted to meet in early September to hash out its recommendations, I think that would work with the timeline this fall.
Well, so, and I think even if we did,
3 on process and then the last one to get our stuff together.
that's exactly
Okay.
what I was just thinking.
Okay. So the August 22nd meeting would be recommendations then.
And then, I think we could kind of leave it flexible,
Mhm.
that if, let's say we're not quite done on the 22nd, we just
Yep.
look at, maybe we'd have one September date.
Yep, which would be,
So we're
Late-
running, oh, sorry.
Labor Day, that's Labor Day is the 5th, so we'd be looking at the 12th.
Yeah. Alternatively, if the group needed to get its stuff done, you could look at meeting the week after the 22nd. I know that is suboptimal, but there's a lot of flexibility in that period of time.
Yeah, and I, and if we, get through some of these really quickly, let's say we don't need POE 2.5 days, we can move the other one up. I mean, I
Yep.
just,
yeah, this is loose, like,
Mhm.
yep. And then September 12th, recommendations if need be.
I'll just put that September 12th date on the calendar for everyone, and if need be, we can just cancel that later.
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And doing that will, you should make that a hard deadline for everybody. that
Absolutely, yeah.
September 12th date.
Yeah, and that week generally looks like when it should be the hard deadline. So that'd be the week of the 12th through the 16th.
Yep.
All right, well, Madam Chair, I can definitely get these dates in the calendar and invite sent out to everyone, so.
Yeah, no, that
Thank
was perfect. And then I think, I know, well, and you guys can tell me if we're allowed to do this or not. I want to make sure our April 18th date is useful with the permanency. Is there anything we want to try to get to data by then? I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. That's more of a question than anything else.
I was just thinking that same thing, Lucas, with just two of us here and like, cause I feel like, some of the data, like the data that Will already got to, we have the data you guys already asked for, except for, I don't know, Will probably didn't have a chance to get to it because we just had that meeting on Friday, but we can look at it right now if you want. You want me to pull it up? I have it right here. And I'm not gonna, Will has it in a really nice format. But
Are you
Madam
talking
Chair,
about
Ms.
Excel spreadsheet?
oh, can I not do it because of accessibility?
We can remediate it after the meeting and
Okay.
and get it up
So
immediately.
I'm talking about the data set and so you guys asked for the top 10. And Will has it in a really nice spread, like a cube, but the only thing he doesn't have is like, you guys called it like evidentiary something, but it's like, was it so he has this.
Got it.
And then, but on the spreadsheet itself, it's really easy to see how it was convicted, right? Was it by admission? Was it by juvenile? What's the thing when it's
Delinquency.
adjudicated?
Yeah.
EJJ. Was it by conviction, whatever? You can see it on the chart. It's really easy. And Will's gonna do that on here. He's gonna elongate them and put the whatever you guys called it, evidentiary standard or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he should be able to get that done
This afternoon, ideally.
Yeah.
Okay.
At some point soon. And so that first thing that you guys asked for us to do is almost done. And then the last thing that you asked of a number 4 bullet point, we don't have that data yet. We don't have the set aside data yet.
Okay.
And then, so like we were able to make fairly, I mean, because of Will, thank you, Will, fairly quick work of that list. And so I think it's going to be a little hard to get the ball rolling. But you guys giving us tasks and then us being able to get things moving. And then we have a date to get together, a couple of us, on the 21st. And so if there's another list of stuff around permanency that you would like us to take a look at, it's terrible that everyone's not here, but you are, I am. And so if there's other stuff, according to that statute, like, let's talk about it.
Yeah. No, and so I'm looking at it. Thanks, Will, for sending. Yeah, this is super helpful to look at.
The one that's really hard for me, and it's because of, I'm in the field and I see them a lot, is assault in the second degree. And it's because of the variation of how the police reports get written and how they're charged out.
Right.
And so,
well, and yeah, and that's, I know I'm looking at assault in the second degree seems to be at the top pretty often.
And Madam Chair, this is a little less in the purview of the Remedies group, but I've also done that breakdown for the various disqualifications. So we see a lot of 5th degree controlled substance crime and theft in the 15 years. A lot of theft and other forms of financial fraud in the 10 years.
And when I was looking at some of this, well, one, and this is one, I mean, I know I have brought it up quite a bit, but like in the 7-year where there's a misdemeanor domestic assault or even misdemeanor 5th-degree assault or theft. And especially those, like the preponderance of the evidence, 41.65% for, I think it's, oops, what am I doing? I think that's for the domestic assault. Which again, those are, it depends on how the police report is written. There's just a lot there, but I'm moving ahead. That's not, we're looking at permanent. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will get back on track.
Yep. See, this will help us. This will be helpful. It really will. So the other one of these that I wonder about a little bit is, Lucas, tell me what constitutes criminal sexual conduct in the 4th degree? What is the thing that makes it different than 5th and 3rd?
So let me pull it up. I always have to pull up the grid sex. And that's the hard part, is so many of them, they seem so overlapping, and I cannot tell you the number of times that I've had a client where it's like, well, you could be charged here or here. So it's coercion. Complainant is mentally impaired, except that there's a lot of that in the 3rd degree too. Prohibited relationship. You know what? Why don't I'll kind of poll some of the other people in my office and sort of see what they see as to when somebody might get 4th degree versus 3rd degree. 5th degree is often, I mean, that's, especially if it's contact, I mean, most of the time 5th degree, at least from what we've seen, is a gross misdemeanor. Obviously there is the possibility for a felony, but that's like the just sexual, you know, the touching of the butt or you touch the breast. But it's just kind of much more that there's just that contact. But yeah, I'll poll some of the people in my office about where they've seen 4th degree.
Because for something like, because 5th degree, for that to be forever seems
Well,
a little much.
and especially when 5th degree, especially if you're a gross misdemeanor, if you're a 5th degree gross misdemeanor, you don't have to register as a sex offender. You're not a prison commit. Like you're not going to prison if you don't have to register. Why is that?
Yep. Yeah, in my mind, it feels like what feels right to me as I like close my eyes and see what it should look like. There's a very short list of permanent, which is the most egregious of crimes that we just can't risk it. And then there's a list of 15-year, which is the things where people need a timeout, and then everything else should be 5. Like that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. No, and
Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt, but Ms. Williamson has come in, so a quorum is now present.
Oh, okay. So with that, with at least we can knock out the meeting minutes were posted. If anybody has any corrections or comments or edits, speak now or forever hold your peace. Hearing none, I will note that the previous meeting minutes have been adopted. So Ms. Williamson, thank you for joining us. Just to catch you up to speed really quick. So we were really working on setting out a future plan for meetings. And so, Will, I think if you wouldn't mind, rather than trying to go through each date right now, just when we're done, shoot out an email to our subcommittee of just, this is what we established as the schedule. So
Will do, Madam Chair.
yeah, just Ms. Williamson, just so that we try to stay on track and get done what we need to get done. We just kind of outlined our next meeting dates and what the topics are gonna be, just so that we're organized. So we'll get that out, and I think our timeline, I think it'll work pretty well.
So much, Chair, and like I told you, on Mondays about this time is when I can come in, but thank you. I appreciate
No,
it.
that's totally, I understand and totally get it. So, and I'm just kind of fumbling here. I'm trying to decide. I think that that list was helpful, but I feel like we need a larger group present to really do much with that. I think, Will, if you wouldn't mind, and I think Gina said you were gonna do this, but you know, as soon as you're done with this list, get it out to our group with also a request that everybody review it and come prepared to the next meeting with kind of their thoughts and what, how this impacts them and how it impacts what they think about our permanency topic.
Certainly, Madam Chair.
So, just to catch you up, Tashonda, the next three meetings are the ones that Max can come to. And his request was that we utilize his time to talk about permanency. And so that's the topic of the next, the April 18th, the May 2nd, and the May 16th, if we need the extra time, is permanency. Just to catch you up on what we're talking about. Awesome, thanks.
So yeah, I think that kind of gets us pretty far on that. I don't know, Gina, what else? I'm kind of, just because it's only us and I think we have a good outline and a good schedule that gets us to where we need to be.
It would be really nice to have the set aside data while we're having these conversations. Like this permanency conversation, I think probably is less important. But once we get into POE and the process, like we need that set aside data to have those conversations in a way that makes sense.
I think
And
that's
so,
right.
and like the DHS is like up to their ears right now. In legislative stuff, but the session, so this I think worked out really well, our timeline, because they're done May 31st, like, and they're going to be done because they're trying to get off to their campaigns. So hopefully we'll be able to get that set aside data, because we need it for POE. Like how often are they granting set asides on POE on preponderance of evidence cases, and then for sure for process, like we have to have them.
Yeah.
So I think this worked out swimmingly.
Yes. And I think, yeah, that definitely one thing. Well, and I know this was a big kind of point for Dewan was, and this is just, I think, another conversation to have, and it'll be interesting to get Max's perspective on it, is even with the permanent bar, do we want to look at anything where there's any sort of discretion? You know, if somebody can show they've gone to treatment and, you know, there have been no other offenses and they've actually kept their, you know, done what they needed to do. Do we want to look at that, or is it still just a permanent bar?
Yeah. I think too, one of the, what do you think about us doing some kind of presentation to the larger group on what the federal standard is? Do you guys think that would be helpful to show the legislature and others like how far from the federal standard Minnesota is? And like what I think the history of what happened, like we were, they had more discretion, and then the Drew Shadeen thing happened, and the Adam Walsh Act came down, and now we're very, very strict, maybe unnecessarily so. Like I feel like having a presentation to show like what happened, and I know that's not the whole history of how we got here or whatever, but I think it's a pretty big part of it, right? I think that, what do you think about that, Will?
Ms. Evans, Madam Chair, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. That definitely involves a lot of legislative history, which is an ongoing project I'm working on. I would also suggest we might want to consult with Ms. Kaser or Ms. Sherlock, who have a lot of expertise, in particular in the federal child care and foster care requirements.
Yeah, I think that that would be helpful. And I don't remember which representative it was, but I feel like one of the representatives was very curious about what other states do.
Mhm.
And because I do think based on our early research, it did appear Minnesota was kind of an outlier.
Mhm.
And I, not that I want to tell the legislature, hey, I know we're Minnesota, but everybody else does it different. I think but I think there is a way to present that
Mhm.
in such a way of how do we tie that, I think if we can tie that into especially the needs and what we need, what the state needs and what, really who it's excluding. I think there is a way we can do it. But definitely it's a sensitive way to do it.
Yeah, and that wouldn't just be like going over numbers, I think, I think putting together an actual like PowerPoint with, and not every single state, but the 6 or 8 states that look and feel the most like ours. Like our legislature doesn't care what California and New York are doing. They
Mhm.
care what Pennsylvania and Ohio and Wisconsin.
We
Yeah.
all like to watch Wisconsin.
Yep. And so I don't know that it would have to be like this huge data project. It would be, the 6 or 8 states that look most like us, and then maybe the federal standards, to say like we were, this Drew Shadeen thing happened and we wanted to protect our community, and we swung back all the way this way. Like DHS had authority to look at each case on a case-by-case basis and look at people's ability to redeem themselves. And then the Drew Shadeen thing happened and we went all the way this way. And now here's what other states that look like ours are doing. And we really are an outlier. And then here's what the federal standard is like. And we're in a workforce crisis, and what do we want to do about it? Right. We're just giving them the data. I think that would be great for us to do along like this permanency thing for the larger, out of like maybe early June, out of our permanency set, to be able to present then to.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think especially if there's going to be any sort of possible pushback, I think that would help to strengthen why we did what we did, why we're recommending whatever we're going to recommend. Obviously, we don't have all of that figured out yet, but I do think that makes a lot of sense. I also think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that could be useful not only for the permanency, but also the POE. Just because I think what we were also finding with the other states is a lot of them talk about convicted. And so does, the Adam Walsh, it always sort of blows my mind that you have a lower, and I think this is what Minnesota was trying to fix, but there was a lower standard to adopt a child versus to become a foster care provider. When you're a foster care provider and you're under constant supervision and people are in your home constantly, we want you to have a higher standard. But as soon as we're going to leave the child with you permanently, it's fine.
And that's still like that?
No, I think that's part of what they were trying to fix, was because it was knocking out so many relatives. So that's a lot of like what Joanna Woolman, and I know Mary Sherman, is it Sherman? The Hennepin County one.
Ms. Sherlock?
Sherlock, there we go. I know she's talked about that before, but just stuff like that where it's like, let's common sense.
And Madam Chair, I'll have a more specific report as I get through all of the legislative history, but my understanding from my preliminary examination is the POE is deeply baked into the history of the statute in Minnesota. It dates back to the early 90s. So it wasn't some late addition.
And that doesn't surprise me, because I do think the Adam Wall, I mean, even the Adam Walsh, if I remember correctly, had something in it about, if there's a government agency decision. But, and I guess I'm also, just because it's been there, doesn't mean it works.
Yeah, or it's keeping anybody safer,
Right.
right? And I'm sure it's about just the way our system works, and sometimes guilty people get away with stuff, right? But it's supposed to be used at a minimum, and based on the numbers, what is it, 600? And that's just in 2018 and 2019. We don't have all the data.
Mhm.
I don't know that would be at a minimum. That doesn't
Yeah.
feel like a minimum to me.
Yeah. And this is more just a curiosity question. When I was looking at the data, did the total number of disqualifications really go from 12,000 to 20,000? Am I looking at the data right?
Nope, it was a big jump from 18 to 19. Yep.
And is the data group looking into why? Do we know why?
So we asked, and I feel like there was some changes in statute that happened that changed some things. Yep. And then the 2.0, the background study 2.0, and all that stuff ramped up. And so, Ms. Cassane, is that the correct answer? That I feel like it's morphed a little bit from initially. So,
Vice Chair Evans and members, yeah, a lot of the explanation, it's probably not entirely. There were some significant changes in childcare requirement of sort of an enhanced study. If you'd like, interested in the legislation around that, I'm happy to
it was
provide that.
statute changes in statute.
Mhm. Based on federal requirements.
Okay.
That was more just like I said. I don't think that's so much for our group as it was just did I look at that?
Yeah.
All right.
That was good, Madam Chair, and to what Vice Chair was saying about the presentation. I think that would be great, especially being able to highlight we got to include that financial, that price tag on there. We need that. That's going to really help to bring this home across the board.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Well, without, I know this may not help the data subcommittee, but at least if you, since I know both you two are on it, even if you can just bring it back to the data subcommittee, of course, if we have questions surrounding the permanency of the POE and just sort of our timelines. And maybe, Will, if you could just for our next meeting on April 18th, I think one of the first items before we even launch into the permanency will just be if there are specific requests for the data subcommittee. I want to get those right away from people. And maybe it's nothing, but I want to, if we have Mr. Esme and Mr. Tatum, I want to make sure we ask that right away so that we can get that over to data.
Certainly, Madam Chair, and I will send out that email pretty much after this meeting.
Perfect.
And Madam Chair, I'm wondering, I know that you had kind of put a list together of certain points for the remedies that can potentially become recommendations. I'm wondering if that's something that we can kind of formalize as well. Because I know in speaking with Chair Geffen, we're looking to have where the subcommittees kind of come together. And so being able to just kind of really have those specific potential recommendations, that would be helpful. Also for data, that would be helpful to see what you're kind of gearing up, because then we can include that as far as if there's with well, I know there's going to be more requests that we'll be needing to make. So that will all be very helpful.
Yeah, so well, and I think, I mean, we did that one Word document back February, sometime, March, I don't remember.
Late February, I believe, Madam Chair.
Yeah, so we can definitely, I think, get that. We can maybe just submit it for people so that just to sort of refresh everybody's memory. And then I do think, Tashonda, just to sort of answer your question, I think that we can at least refresh our memory with that one. But I think the way that we've divided it up is we're gonna now we're gonna try to tackle each topic individually. And so that's some of the schedule that Will's going to send out after this, which I think will help data just to know when we're tackling topics. And so that we're staying on track. And so I think that may actually help answer some of what you're looking for, just because we want to be respectful of data's time as well. So I think that's the goal, and that's what Gina and I tried to set up as well. So if there's nothing else, I don't know. You all know I don't feel the need to stay if we don't need to stay. If there's nothing else, I know, Will, you have quite a bit we've just asked you to do. So, if there's nothing else, anything, if not, we can adjourn. All right. Well, hearing nothing, then why don't we adjourn? And Will, I think we gave you quite a few tasks today, so thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's great to have this sense of the roadmap going forward.
Perfect. Well, obviously, if there are questions in the meantime, but otherwise, we will see everybody on April 18th. And Gina, just if I am in trial, I'll probably leave that to you.
Yep, I think, with a good direction that we're going to talk about the permanency and go over the chart that Will's going to put together and just start making some observations about what we potentially could recommend and, what are the things that could get passed potentially or whatever, who's dangerous and who needs a chance after a certain amount of time and what just doesn't belong on there. So I think I can handle that conversation. So perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Happy Monday.
Bye.